Women want to be taken care of course they want to be provided for if you can, right? But at the same time, a woman will just take you or take a man because she likes you, right? You don't have to provide or protect anything. She can take care of herself, she just likes you, so you get along and you do what you do, right? That exists as well. Drivers Mate Podcast, back with another one. Thank you for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate the time you spend with me on this podcast. Whatever it is you're doing during your day, glad I could accompany you either through the audio version or the visual version, right? If you actually sat down to watch this and you're eating your food while you're watching me, big up yourself, right? I hope you enjoy your day. Anyway, what we usually do in a time of day like this is YouTube Shorts reaction. That's right. So what I do is I pick a YouTube short at random and I give you my initial reaction, then an opinion if I have one, right? Check out my main channel at CNCCMI, right? Don't forget that, alright? Let's go.
The reality is that women actually want to be owned.
What?
They just don't want to be limited, oppressed, controlled, or seen as less than. And the travesty is, as a society, we've taught women that this is what ownership actually is. When a woman is owned, it's essentially the opposite of the energy of her being astray. And women, to be completely honest with you, do not do well with being stray. So here's the thing about positive ownership. When you take something as a part of you, to the degree that it belongs with you, it actually becomes a part of you to the degree where you can't actually hurt that thing without also hurting yourself too. So positive ownership is really the only way to stay genuinely safe in a relationship, regardless of whether it's between a friend and a friend of the same gender or a woman and a man in a primary partnership. If you actually take positive ownership over something, the best interest of that thing is of your utmost concern. The reality is that women...
Alright. I don't know about you, but to me that sounds like bullshit. And it seems like she might be one of those women that have like, or is attempting to infiltrate that whole manosphere space, right, by using red pill manosphere type talking points, right? And that's not to be confused with the women that other women call pick-me's, right? Because most of those women, most of the time, aren't actually trying to get across any agenda or make any content. They're just telling you their preferences and how they've experienced life, right? So I personally don't rate the idea of calling women pick-me's. And I also don't rate the idea of looking down on women, like from a point of view of they're nothing. You know what I mean? I don't know how to describe it. Like it's a subtext that's in a lot of this content and permeating the internet with like not red pill rage. I know that's the easiest way to go to it, but like, so there's one set of people, right, that want to be able to do whatever the hell they want to do and no accountability, right? And then there's another set of people that want things to be so stringent and impossible for things to change, right, that people don't grow and get anywhere, right? You don't want to be mixed up in between either of those two parties. And the thing is, when you get one of those extremist kind of people, whether it be a man or a woman, they will point to one scenario, one anecdotal thing, or one person and blame them or that thing for everything, right? And when it comes to male and female relationships, the internet is rife with that, right? Lots of anecdotal stories and scenarios and dilemmas, right? But not actually taking into account the millions, if not billions, of healthy, normal relationships, right? So just not taking that into account. So with that said, as a baseline, I'm not a woman, so I can't speak on if a woman feels like she wants to be owned or not owned, right? Because what sense does that make? I know there's like a chauvinist history, especially in Europe, of men seeing their wives as a thing to be owned, right, and controlled, dominated, and not as an actual person. But I don't know, man. Nah, I think maybe the right way to change it, right, not putting words in that woman's mouth, because she's obviously got an agenda with what she's saying. I think women, yeah, and men want to feel a part of something, right? No logical, sane person wants to feel like they belong to another, right? They would purposely, intentionally demean and put themselves under the control or responsibility of another person. No sane adult, anyway, in my opinion. is there women out there that might agree with her and say, yes, we want to feel like that? Probably, right? Because the world's made of billions of people and everyone has their preferences. But in general, in my own experience in life, which is not very much experience, right? Just a guy in a van, right? Remember that, yeah? Most women don't want to feel like they're being owned or being policed or being, constrained, right? And what man wants to feel like that either, right? I don't want to feel like I have to answer to you or you control what I do. That's foolishness, right? Now, there's this big argument on the internet, especially that permeates the manosphere or the red pill, right, stuff, of female cooperation, right? Now, what does that really mean? It just means, my opinion of it, right, because there's two ways to look at that. Cooperation, what does that mean? Right? It just means like getting along in a relationship, right? Conceding and working together for I don't know. For a mutual cause, right? A mutual benefit. So the lady might concede to X, Y, and Z in order to obtain X, Y, and Z, right? And the man may concede to X, Y, and Z in order to obtain X, Y, Z, right? Just from that point of view. That's the only logical way to look at it, right? But a lot of these fools on the internet and in real life, right? Some people are in these situations, relationships, take that literally, right? She must obey what I say and do what I say, like, and I don't like to do this, but when looking through Twitter, you will see these types of women use who I'm going to use as an example and blame these types of people for everything, right? So you have an Andrew Tate who says something along that line, but not actually what he says, right? From a point of view, I think one of his interviews he said, right, if I'm going to be responsible to protect and take care of this woman, she should do what I say, right? Because if I'm going to risk my life to potentially keep her alive or get killed for her, right, then she should do what I say to avoid both of us getting hurt, basically, right? And from that point of view, I understand it, right? But from like a crazy, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but just think about what I'm saying from a semantic point of view, like from like a crazy, overly religious, maybe, I don't know if it's called Sharia law or something like that, some shit like that, but from where women are virtually suppressed, like they can't just be normal humans, they don't have that much rights. Now, within those groups, there are people that enjoy that kind of lifestyle and it works for them, and then within those groups, there are people that are going through terrible hardships at the same time, right? But with that in mind, you can take that cooperation literally, like you must do what I say, you must cooperate, like gun to your head, cooperate. You can also look at it like working together, right? We've got the same mutual cause, common causes to make our relationship work. So I'm going to give up this for you and you're going to give up that for me, and I'm going to do this for you, you're going to do this for me, right? From that point of view, cooperation. Now, in all of that, can you really say, outside of the religious and originally chauvinist, misogynist point of view, that your wife belongs to you? No, you cannot, right? Because that's another human being. Now, like we said in the beginning, would a woman want to feel like she belongs to a man in marriage, right? She has a man's hand in marriage. That's her man, that's my woman, right? Probably yes, because that makes sense. But being owned, and the perspective she used inside in the little clip that we heard was that it's like extreme responsibility or extreme ownership, right? Because I claim this is mine now, if I don't take care of it, it affects me, right? And I get what she's trying to do, but that's not realistic. It just doesn't make any sense to say, okay, because I own this woman now, if anything bad happens to her, or if she does anything bad, it reflects on me, right? And because I look after me, I have to look after what I own, right? It doesn't really, the two things don't really correlate, right? Because you can own something and treat it like shit and not care about it, right? And you can own something and treat it well, maintain it, upkeep it, right? And that's the point of it. Looking at a woman as an object and not an actual human being. That's where the problems are, right? In the whole, as a whole, right? Because, you know, not even just a human rights thing, right? In sexual relationships, yes, the woman is on the receiving end most of the time, right? let's show just some other kind of shit. But at the same time, it doesn't naturally give a man the right to dominate, right? It's an agreed thing. It's I'll do this and you do this, right? Even in nature, it's like an unspoken agreement, right? It's not a forceful thing. What's the fucking point here? You know what I'm saying? What are we really doing here? Who's benefiting from this and who isn't? Right? So I know it sounds a bit too surface, and I'm not really prepared to deal with a subject like this, but from my point of view, what she's saying sounds like it's just an agenda, right? That's gonna make men happy, or a certain type of men happy, like telling a certain kind of men what they want to hear, and not the actual truth, right? Because, and I'm going to generalize, right? It's not absolute terms or absolute people. Women are very good at manipulating through communication, right? And showing one thing, saying one thing, and doing another, right? They're very good at it. Yeah? Because I'm not gonna generalize all women, but the emotional understanding of most women, or a majority of women, is better than the emotional understanding of a man, right? Therefore, they can manipulate emotions better, tell you what you want to hear whilst doing what they want to do, right? Just like you get Delilah and Samson, you get Caesar and Cleopatra. There's all kinds of examples of this through history anyway, right? Of a woman using her power to finesse and getting what she wants, where she wants it, how she wants it done, all the while stroking the ego of the so-called alpha male, having him believe that he's in control when really he has no control. He's just another puppet on her scheme, right? Which is most men's position in life, whether they want to admit it or not, right? That's what it means. That's why it's important to be a whole man, right? And not a man fueled and run by desires and emotion and the needs and wants, right? It's to be a whole man. It's to understand the perspective of who you are as an individual and how that same human mind frame translates into other people and other interactions, right? So you don't get played, you don't get manipulated. You can be honest, right? And you can see when other people aren't being honest too. But from that general little clip that she done there, it's my opinion that whoever that lady is, she is not an agent, but she has an agenda within that kind of manospherian arena, right? Because the normal women that I interact with and I follow and on the timeline and all that stuff, right? They would never take that, right? Maybe I just follow a certain type of woman, right? That's just like that. Maybe they're just, you know what I mean? They're just a bit more stush because of our race and our culture. And maybe that is the case, but I've never come across a woman saying that she wants to be owned, right? I've heard a woman say she wants to be looked after, right? I've heard a woman say she wants to be taken care of, she wants to live a soft girl era and all of that, right? I've heard that. Of course I've heard that. Who hasn't heard that? But owned? No. And you would have to ask yourself, okay, if she's giving you ownership, what is she getting in return, right? Like I said, it's kind of a word salad of manipulation happening, right? So yeah, as an individual in the relationship, you must still be responsible for yourself anyway, right? Do death do us part or not, right? You still must be responsible for yourself. So owning another individual is weird, right? It's just maybe it's a terminology used. Maybe it's my own personal bias against the ideas of infringing on freedoms and rights and stuff like that. Maybe that's my own personal bias. And it's more heteronormative to actually own your spouse or significant other, right? Historically, I'm saying. But like I said, I don't bloody know. I'm not a wokey and I'm not a far righty. I'm just an average guy in a bloody van, right? Speaking from my own experiences and interactions, right? Women want to be taken care of course they want to be provided for if you can, right? But at the same time, a woman will just take you or take a man because she likes you, right? You don't have to provide or protect anything. She can take care of herself, she just likes you, so you get along and you do what you do, right? That exists as well. So don't let the internet and all of these like gender war topic type of people get in your mind and convince you that all of these laws and rules exist around male and female interactions, when really and truly in the real world it's all nuanced, right? It's all different, and people are people are different, right? Some people are raised in different ways than others. Some people are more traditional. Some people are more religious. Some people are more liberal, right? Some people just do things differently. So you've got to understand that. Maybe there is a set of women out there from some, I don't know, sado type of shit that want to be owned, right? Treated like that. But I mean, it might be fun for a night or two with that kind of woman, but for a lifetime, do you really want that responsibility of someone that thinks like that? Not really. Would you want to raise kids with someone that thinks like that? Not really, right? Because if she looks at herself as something to be owned, then what will she think of you, right? And what will she think of your kids? And it's just a crazy knock-on effect, right? I'm not saying that, right? Take away gender, right? We should treat each other equally, if we could, in most scenarios. Although, in terms of social standing, class, and resources, right, we are not equal. But under civil rights and human rights and normal, just polite society, we should be treating each other as equals, right? Now then you add gender into that. Not everything translates as the same, right? Women's experiences with certain things are different than a man's experiences, right? Women's accumulation of resources is different from a man's accumulation of resources, right? How the time is spent, how they socially interact, they're different, right? Although they're different, when the two decide to like each other and be in a relationship, there has to be a more dominant partner at some point in time. Maybe that pendulum swings depending on the situation, but at some point in time, someone has to lead and someone has to follow, right? So from that perspective, I understand it. But owning, you can never own another human being, right? You can never make someone think what you want them to think. They can think along those lines. You can never read their mind and force them to think it, right? Because of course, you could turn someone into a slave, but while they're carrying out the activities of a slave, they might be thinking of murdering you every second of the day, right? So what good is that to you if you're supposed to love this person and they're supposed to love you? It's no good to anyone, is it, right? So I don't know what that woman's on, bro. Maybe she's right, maybe she's wrong, right? And these gender topics, they're kind of touchy because it's not only is it political, it's too psychologically taxing to really sit down and think about this, right? Because it just creates further divide and you overthink your interactions with the fairer sex, and it's long, right? People are different, and you got to remember people are also fucking weirdos, right? So just remember that the internet is not a nice place sometimes, and the way people, both men and women, are being indoctrinated and taught to do things and to act. And yeah, we can sit here and say, oh, I miss the old days, I miss just going out and talking to a girl and just saying, hey, what's up, well, can I get your number and that, right? And it not being an issue, right? There's all that, there's so much shit that is just happening around us. But like we said in an earlier video, I think season 1 stuff, there is a manipulation at play when it comes to genders, interactions, right? And genders of specific demographics, right? Classes, social, I keep going to say inculcation, right? I don't know if that's the right way, right? But however they're socially integrated, right? There's a concerted effort to have these types of people be at odds with each other, right? While the richer and the upper class people over here do things the traditional way, and over there they do it the liberal way, but they still work together. While you and yours argue amongst each other and you fail to reproduce based on someone else's plan of genocide, virtually, right? A psychological genocide. So yeah, there's that aspect of it too. So yeah, that's what I think, right? You let me know what you think. Did I miss anything out? Am I being too surface? Did I overanalyze, or did I not really address what she's actually saying, right? And I just threw my feelings out here, you know what I'm saying? Or did I really enlighten you to something you may not be aware of, right? You let me know. At the end of the day, that's the point of having these conversations, is to spark thought and entertain, right? And possibly educate if I can educate. Like, who am I to educate you, right? But anyway, the point is to share, right? right? So you share with me what you think and what you know. Maybe you can help me be a better person, have better relationships or whatnot, right? Maybe you can enlighten me to what she's saying is right or wrong. I don't bloody know, right? But at CMI is my main channel, away from the podcast. And of course, watch the next video, right? Check out the next video. There's lots of good stuff in Drivers Make podcast YouTube and the playlist, and press the like button, right? Like my random glove missing a thumb, right? Just make that remind you to press the like button, okay? It's not hard to do. It helps me and it helps other channels like me permeate the internet and the algorithm and pop up people's discovery page so they can see real people doing real things and keep freedom of speech free, right? So you can reach me on all the socials that you want to use. I'll probably be there. And you can also sign up to the Patreon and get exclusive content ahead of time, buy merch, get other good deals, right? Now we're not going to talk about on YouTube, right? Good deals. I say like I have something to sell, right? I don't really have anything to sell at this point. But if I do at some point do something special, it will be for Patreons first, foremost, right? Because they're the real supporters of this thing, right? Although a lot of people just like myself watch content and can't afford to contribute or do more than comment and like and subscribe, sometimes that is enough, right? But for the other person that wants to go the extra mile and give to somebody that they think is doing them a service in life, thank you, I appreciate you, right? So Drivers Make Podcast, I know that's extra, right? Or Drivers Make Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time, and as always, have a nice day.